The Cabin in the Woods is not just any other horror movie. Heck, it's not even a zombie movie or even a slasher movie, as the title may have you believe. It's something more. It's a big giant metaphor. Yes, you heard that right. The entire movie is a friggin' mind-bending metaphor, where the cabin in the woods is not just an old log cabin in the woods. It's a metaphor for something else altogether. In this video, we'll explain what exactly the Cabin in the Woods facility is, how it works, who created it, and who ran it. So grab some popcorn and stay tuned. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
We have a winner. It's the Buckners, ladies and gentlemen.
What is the Cabin in the Woods facility? The central theme of this zombie slasher film, released way back in 2011, revolves around a group of 5 American college students who go on a weekend getaway to an old cabin deep in the woods. It's the stereotypical group of friends we've seen in countless horror flicks. Think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead, The Ritual, Midsummer, Wrong Turn, and others. As you might have already guessed, bad things happen to them because of the dumb things they do at this eerie-looking cabin. That's the basic plot, pretty self-explanatory. But there's more. Something so sinister that it's almost metaphorical, quite literally. The cabin, which looks like the perfect set for a slasher movie, is actually controlled from a central hub called the facility. The facility is a sort of control station from where everything happening in the cabin and its surroundings is monitored and manipulated. It also serves as the American headquarters of a global organization that runs operations. Rituals, really, for the Ancient Ones, a race of blood-hungry gods. And the facility isn't the only one of its kind. We learn it's just one of several similar operations across the globe, with others located in places like Buenos Aires, Argentina, Stockholm, Sweden, Madrid, Spain, Kyoto, Japan, Rangoon, Myanmar, and Berlin, Germany. The facility, resembling a giant control room straight out of a sci-fi movie, is a massive underground complex hidden beneath the cabin. It feels like it's been inspired by the multi-level Umbrella Corporation facility from the Resident Evil franchise. The facility contains numerous sectors with specialized departments that keeps the operation running. Administration, accounting, archives, chemistry, communications, demolition, electrical, maintenance, R&D, and security. Interestingly, all these departments are metaphors for actual departments involved in filmmaking. Some are even direct references. For instance, there's a story department dedicated to crafting stories for each of the monsters held in containment beneath the facility. The facility also features access holes, openings that lead into a vast network of containment cubes. These are like a twisted version of the fourth-dimensional Tesseract cubes from Interstellar, except they're packed with everyone's worst nightmares. Tarantulas, scorpions, giant snakes, werewolves, mutants, alien beasts, zombies, clowns, witches, goblins, sugar plum fairies, a merman, and yes, even a unicorn. Wait, did I say unicorn? Yeah, why not? Unicorns can be nightmare fuel too. That razor-sharp horn? Deadly. Beneath the containment cubes lies the ritual chamber, where sacrificial rituals are conducted and blood is drawn. And beneath that chamber slumbers the ancient gods, the Ancient Ones, who remain dormant, so long as their bloodlust is satisfied. Why was the Cabin in the Woods facility created? As stated earlier, the Cabin in the Woods is one giant metaphor. But what does that actually mean? Essentially, it's a metaphor for horror movies, or more specifically, for the entire genre of horror films that allow a similar formula. In fact, everything associated with the cabin is a symbolic stand-in for elements of a typical horror movie. The cabin itself represents the set of a horror film, which, in this case, it literally is. The ritual chamber symbolizes a movie theater. The 5 stereotypical characters, they represent the classic horror movie archetypes. Still confused? Let's break it down. Like in every formulaic horror movie we've grown to love, there's the virgin, Dana, played by the sweet Kristen Connolly, the athlete, Kurt, played by the charming Chris Hemsworth, the scholar, Holden, played by Jesse Williams, the fool, Marty, played by Fran Kranz, and the whore, Kurt's girlfriend Jules, played by Anna Hutchinson. As is often the case in horror films, a group of naive yet overconfident young adults heads out of town for a weekend retreat in a remote, eerie cabin, allegedly purchased by Kurt's cousin. On the way, they stop at a gas station to refuel their RV, where they encounter a grim, bearish man named Mordecai, played by Tim DeZarn, who directs them to the Buckner place, that is, the titular cabin in the woods. Once at the cabin, the group accidentally stumbles upon an old diary in the basement during a game of Truth or Dare. The diary belongs to a girl named Anna Patience Buckner, who writes about how her father, Father Buckner, murdered her family and chopped off her arm in a secret chamber within the cabin. Dana begins to read aloud a passage in Latin from the diary, unknowingly invoking a dark incantation, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Meanwhile, the facility, which monitors and manipulates everything happening at the cabin, is a metaphor for a movie production house, and its employees are stand-ins for the film's crew. But that raises the question, why does the facility even exist? Well, as Marty, the stone fool, insightfully puts it, the people working in the facility are the puppeteers, controlling the characters' decisions and actions until they meet their inevitable horrific ends. This mirrors how filmmakers control the movie's script and direct actors toward their fates, ideally ones that will captivate audiences. In the case of horror, that usually means creating even more terrifying experiences with more gore, more blood, and more jump scares to satisfy the gods, the Ancient Ones. Wait, what do gods or Ancient Ones have to do with horror movies? Well, here's the twist. The Ancient Ones are a metaphor for us, the audience. We, the desensitized moviegoers, have consumed horror movie after horror movie to the point that we're no longer scared. We crave more gore, more brutality, more fear, to feel anything at all. That's why the facility's control room technicians, Sitterson and Hadley, are so desperate to give kids the most gruesome, horrific deaths possible, to keep the Ancient Ones, read us, entertained and satisfied. But back to the question, why was the facility created? In the film's universe, the facility exists to monitor and manipulate the kids' thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions, placing them in inescapable situations that lead to their demise. For example, when the group tries to escape, the demolition department is ordered to blow up the tunnel they originally came through, cutting off their only route back to safety. Who ran the facility? How does the facility operate? Although we see her quite late in the movie, the director, played by Sigourney Weaver, is the head of the facility and likely the one who runs it. The director is a metaphor for a horror movie director, eager to keep the Ancient Ones, aka us, the audience, happy and satisfied by feeding them blood and fear. To do this, she orders the facility's employees to perform their tasks. The two technicians, Sitterson and Hadley, are the ones monitoring and controlling most of the operations. Furthermore, the facility has access to all sorts of equipment, from modern military weapons, explosives, communication technologies, and surveillance systems, to a chamber of monsters, and even an advanced holographic hexagonal wall that confines the area around the cabin like an invisible trap. The facility works by tracking the targets, aka the dumb kids who are foolish enough to head deep into the woods for some quality time. On the way, they meet an irritating guy who warns them, but not enough to deter them. In fact, he makes them even more curious. That guy is Mordecai, who we learn is also part of the facility's task force. And then there's the facility itself and its 80-odd employees. The facility and its departments are metaphors for a production house and its various teams. It works just like any film production studio, although it feels more like a military control center. Perhaps that's the intended metaphor. The facility has screens that show failing missions in other centers such as Sweden, Spain, and Rangoon, and the employees are betting on Japan to produce something good. The Japanese broadcast shows a ghostly levitating girl in a school being exercised using songs and flowers, until she turns into a frog, much to the disappointment of their US counterparts, suggesting the diminishing standards of horror films globally. The facility's employees place bets on which monster the group will inadvertently invoke, which will eventually kill them. When the group accidentally finds the diary of Patience Buckner, and Dana reads the Latin incantation, the redneck zombie family, aka the Buckners, rises from the dead to carry out the killings. There are surveillance screens throughout the facility showing what's happening in and around the cabin, using cameras. There are gas pumps that release mood-altering chemicals, an electrical department that controls the cabin's power systems, and a demolition department that blows up the tunnel leading to the cabin. One of the best scenes in the film that draws a parallel between the facility and a movie production house is when night falls at the cabin. Kurt and Jules head into the woods to make out, and Jules hesitates. The facility's technicians, Sitterson and Hadley, order the chemistry department to release pheromones into the woods, which gets Jules back in the mood. They even add a faint spotlight and play some feel-good music to set the scene. Just as things are about to escalate, Jules is slaughtered by a member of the Buckner family, the redneck zombies chosen for the mission, although Hadley was rooting for the merman. Also, in typical horror movie fashion, the whore is the first to die, as she is considered corrupted, so Jules is killed first. The rest of the deaths are well timed, but Marty, the stoner, who's also the wisest of them all, thanks to the psychoactive substances he's been smoking, survives to see the film's climax, along with Dana, the virgin, who almost always survives in horror films. When Dana and Marty meet in the elevator in one of the facility's access shafts, that's when the monster frenzy begins. Marvelous verdict. Time now for our marvelous verdict. We've tried our best to explain the metafictional, metaphorical facility in The Cabin in the Woods without giving away too many spoilers. But now that you know how the entire movie is a metaphor for almost every horror film, how the facility represents a production house, its employees the film crew, and the Ancient Ones its audience, critics, and movie buffs, while the ritual chamber symbolizes the theater near you, you might as well watch the movie. Only this time, keep all the symbolism in mind. I wonder what the ending meant though. Why did the Ancient Ones rise from their eternal slumber? Were they not satisfied with the movie? Well, that's a topic for another day in another video. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!